What happens when confidence meets composure, when fire crashes into calm? In the heart of the 1990s sitcom culture, Martin gave us more than just laughs. It gave us a raw, comedic, yet deeply psychological look at modern black love. At the center of it all stood Martin Payne and Gina Waters, a couple that reflected a tug-of-war between ego and empathy, passion and patience, impulse and attention. But beneath the punchlines and playful jabs, what psychological forces were really shaping their relationship? Today on Sight Screen Perspectives, I'm diving into the beautifully chaotic love story of Martin and Gina, decoding the subconscious patterns, emotional triggers, and relationship dynamics that made them unforgettable. From the moment we meet Martin Payne, played by the iconic comedian and actor Martin Lawrence, it's clear he's a charismatic force, loud, opinionated, self-assured. Martin exudes extroversion, but often laced with insecurity masked as bravado. Psychologically, Martin represents the archetype of someone with a high need for control and validation, traits often rooted in underlying vulnerability. His sense of humor is sharp, often defensive, a classic shield used by individuals who struggle with being emotionally exposed. Gina Waters, played by the incomparable actress entertainer Tisha Campbell, on the other hand, is grounded. She's logical, nurturing, and emotionally intelligent. Her personality aligns more with secure attachment and high emotional regulation, a stabilizing force in Martin's whirlwind of unpredictability. This dynamic, an emotionally expressive man and a calm, emotionally anchored woman, creates friction but also balance. In psychology, we'll call this complementary personality mirroring, where one partner brings what the other lacks, ideally resulting in mutual growth. But there's a cost. While opposites may attract, they also trigger each other. Martin's impulsiveness clashes with Gina's need for order. Gina's rationality sometimes provokes Martin's insecurity, making him feel misunderstood or challenged. This sets the stage for the tension we often see between them, a psychological dance between independence and intimacy, dominance and vulnerability. In the world of sitcoms, humor is the language, but in Martin, humor becomes more than a punchline. It becomes a coping strategy. Martin's jokes aren't always just for laughs. Psychologically speaking, humor serves as emotional armor. When Martin cracks jokes during serious moments or deflects with sarcasm, it's a way of regaining power in emotionally vulnerable situations. This use of humor is connected to what psychologists call adaptive versus maladaptive coping. When Martin uses humor to diffuse tension or lift Gina's spirits, it's adaptive. But when he uses it to avoid accountability or hide insecurities, especially during arguments or emotionally loaded conversations, it becomes maladaptive, blocking emotional intimacy. Gina's ability to laugh with Martin even during heated moments shows her emotional flexibility, but she often has to carry the emotional labor, bridging the gap between Martin's jokes and his true feelings. Over time, this can lead to emotional imbalance, where one partner becomes the emotional anchor and the other floats in avoidance. One of Martin's recurring challenges in a relationship is his jealousy, whether it's Gina's male co-workers, old flames, or even random interactions. Martin's reactions reflect a deep-seated fear of inadequacy. While he projects confidence, many of his behaviors points to anxious, preoccupied attachment patterns, the need for constant reassurance, and the fear of being replaced. Jealousy from a psychological standpoint isn't just about mistrust, it's often about self-worth. Martin doesn't always believe he's enough for Gina, and instead of confronting that feeling directly, he lashes out. He might make a scene, use humor to mask it, or become controlling. All of these are classic signs of insecurity acting out through defense mechanisms. Gina, while patient, isn't passive. She sets boundaries and calls out Martin's behavior, reflecting healthy communication and self-respect. But she also has a high threshold for tolerance, perhaps too high. This raises a common psychological dilemma. When does emotional support become emotional enabling? Martin and Gina's arguments are iconic, but they're also textbook examples of communication breakdowns. Martin often leads with emotion, yelling first, thinking later. Gina responds with logic, trying to reason through chaos. But the mismatch creates what therapists call a pursuer-dissenser cycle. One partner escalates, the other withdraws or tries to pacify, and nothing truly gets resolved. Still, there's one thing they never lose: respect. Even in their most heated moments, Martin doesn't belittle Gina's intelligence and Gina doesn't emasculate Martin. This foundational respect allows them to bounce back after conflict, a sign of what psychologists refer to as relationship resilience. They fight, yes, but they also repair through apologies, vulnerability, or just laughter. The speed and sincerity of their repair attempts keep the relationship afloat, even when egos clash. Analyzing Martin and Gina through the lens of Gary Chapman's 5 love languages, we see some mismatches but also overlaps. Martin thrives on words of affirmation. He wants to be told he's the man. Gina expresses love through acts of service and quality time, cooking for him, supporting his career, and making time despite her demanding job. Their emotional needs don't always align, leading to mixed signals. Martin wants visible praise, Gina wants emotional consistency, but their willingness to adjust and compromise, even when it's uncomfortable, reflects emotional growth over time. Martin slowly learns to listen more, even if imperfectly. Gina starts to accept Martin's emotional language, recognizing that his loud love is still love, just in a different dialect. It's also important to place Martin and Gina within their cultural and historical context. In the 1990s, portrayals of black love were often one-dimensional, either overly sanitized or rooted in dysfunction. Martin offers something nuanced, a couple that was flawed, funny, affectionate, and deeply human. Psychologically, seeing two black characters navigate love, ambition, and identity with humor and realness gave viewers mirror neurons of hope and validation. They weren't perfect, and that was the point. In their chaos, we saw ourselves. In their growth, we saw what was possible. They normalized vulnerability in black relationships and showed that emotional expression, especially from black men, could coexist with strength. Why do so many still root for Martin and Gina? From a psychological standpoint, it comes down to parasocial relationships. We saw their struggles, laughed through their healing, and became emotionally invested. They reminded us that love doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. Their relationship mimicked real life cycles of attraction, miscommunication, repair, and renewal. For many, Martin and Gina weren't just characters. They were templates, cautionary tales, and role models rolled into one. They gave us permission to be loud, emotional, insecure, and still deserving of love. They proved that affection can exist alongside conflict, and that growth doesn't require perfection, just effort and honesty. Martin and Gina weren't just sitcom soulmates. They were psychological case studies in passion, ego, and emotional evolution. Their love was loud, flawed, real, and that's why it worked, because at the heart of every meaningful relationship is not perfection, but perseverance. So the next time you revisit Martin and hear that classic, "Damn Gina," look deeper. Beneath the comedy is a layered love story, one that teaches us about vulnerability, emotional intelligence, and the power of choosing each other again and again. Thanks for watching Side Screen Perspectives. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, comment on your favorite Martin and Gina moment, and subscribe for more psychological takes on your favorite TV shows. Until next time, stay curious, stay introspective, and keep watching the screen with your mind wide open.